Here we are in Seattle Center itself on a momentous day for the NHL's 32nd franchise. And while we have been inundated with your responses from in and around Seattle, it's always good to get a perspective from outside as well. So let's have a quick chat, shall we, with Emily Kaplan, who's ESPN's ice hockey reporter. Emily, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Now, we're a little bit biased. We love the name Kraken. What do you think the rest of the nation will think? Well, we can't quite get Emily right now. Are you with us there, Emily? The wonders of modern technology in the COVID age. Emily, are you there? So we'll just wait for Emily for just a moment and we'll get back to her and try and get hold of Emily Kaplan from ESPN. Talk about that national perspective of the Kraken becoming the NHL's 32nd franchise. As you mentioned, it has been a long time in the making. That Board of Governors meeting, a couple of years ago in New York, where the Seattle Kraken were finally awarded the franchise as they were hoping and dreaming. And it's now becoming a reality. So we'll check in with Emily in just a few moments' time. And then we'll speak to Ricky Olczyk, the Assistant General Manager of Seattle Kraken, to get a bit more of a Hockey 101 and also talk about the roster building process. When you've got to bring in 50 guys inside a year or so, it'll be no easy task. The expansion draft will, of course, do quite a bit of the heavy lifting, but what goes into the process of finding the right players who are available at the right price? Well, let's try and go back to Emily Kaplan now from ESPN, the ice hockey reporter. Emily, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great to have you with us. Thanks very much for your time. We were just saying that, of course, we're biased and we love the name Seattle Kraken here. What do you think the rest of the ice hockey nation will read into Seattle Kraken as the name for the NHL's 32nd franchise?
To be honest, I don't think it matters. I feel like the Kraken are such a fan-focused organization that if the people in Seattle like it, it's their inside joke, it's their thing, and if you don't get it, it's not for you.
And what about yourself? You give us a hot take?
I have no hot take. I love it. I heard it yesterday when I was working on this story, and I said, thank goodness. I felt like you didn't mess it up, and I was really glad. I feel like, it was so kept under wraps that there's all these rumors that most of them weren't true, and I was scared the colors were going to be red and black. So the colors especially, I was very pleased with.
Why were you scared about the red and black?
There's just too many red and black teams in the league, and I feel like Seattle just has this unique thing going and an opportunity to do something different.
And tell us about unique. You've mentioned that word a couple of times. What makes Seattle Kraken unique as an organization?
Yeah, I think just, the amount of time that they've had so far to start building things and really being imaginative and forward thinking, involving the fans at every step of the process. I don't think that's ever been done from scratch for an NHL organization. And I'm just super excited for the game presentation. I know there's some really cool, unique, my favorite word, features about Climate Pledge Arena, but like the Kraken just lends itself to a sick pregame intro.
Yeah, I haven't asked anybody about this yet, and I'm kicking myself for it. Mascot Possibilities. Doesn't this open up a world here, or pardon the pun, like a sea of opportunities to do some really cool things with a mascot?
Well, firstly, I love how you're leaning into the puns already. Yeah, I do. And I asked Andy Jassy about that yesterday, and he said, we have not gotten to mascot yet. It took us quite a while to give us the name. Let this simmer for a bit. But I'm curious, with the logo, they were so conscious of not making it cartoonish. It would have to be a really scary mascot.
Yeah, the logo, it plays into the Seattle Metropolitans. We've talked on this show already a lot about the history of the Metropolitans. How much does authenticity play into bringing around a brand in the NHL to make it authentic, but as you say, cool and unique?
Yeah, I think one of the best things about the NHL is it's really diverse in the different markets, right? You have, the fabric of Canada involved, there's Sunbelt expansion, and each team, I think, does a good job of honoring their community and serving those fans. And you guys all know that Seattle's a really special place. A lot of special people gravitate towards there. They all have a certain aesthetic and attitude, and I just feel like this team is so well built to fit and serve those people.
And what kind of foundation does Seattle Kraken have with Ron Francis as general manager and Ricky Olczyk alongside him?
Yeah, no, I mean, they definitely hired respected voices in the hockey world. The Wikis have been so involved, and they have so much experience, from the game presentation to building teams. One of the things that I thought was super interesting is the fact that Ron Francis was involved in the branding committee and had a voice in this because, one of the big things is the fans need to love it, but the players need to love it too. And nobody knows, hockey players better than Ronnie Francis, who played more than 2 decades in the league, has been, a GM and a manager. So the fact that he signed off on this and he said this is something that I think players will like is fascinating.
And what do you see from maybe a playing perspective? What are the biggest priorities that Seattle need to try and organise? We know there's the expansion draft next year and you've got to get a slate of 50-odd players to come in. Where do you see is the priorities in the next year or so for this organisation on the ice?
You know what's fascinating is I think it's off the ice scouting. And one of the reasons the Vegas Golden Knights were so successful in their inaugural season is they didn't just draft the best players that were available, they drafted the right players. Of course, they had a lot of other general managers overthinking it because they hadn't been through an expansion draft in so long. So it's not going to be as easy for Seattle, but they really picked high character guys with chips on their shoulders, guys who are going to buy in. And I feel like Seattle in the next year is going to do a ton of work in scouting, especially the off-ice scouting, and really understanding who these guys are to make sure that first class of Kraken deserve the name.
And what is Seattle Kraken getting themselves in for in the Pacific Division? Of course, we have a name now, but no players. So it's difficult really to speculate too much, particularly when there's another season of NHL to come. But in terms of strengths and weaknesses of the Pacific, what should Seattle Hockey 101ers be looking out for?
It's a difficult division to walk into. I'm not going to lie. You've got teams that are ready to win now, like the Vegas Golden Knights. The Edmonton Oilers have the 2 best forwards in the league. And then there's teams like the LA Kings and the Ducks. And even though they're not doing great right now, the Kings have one of the best prospect systems in the country and in the entire league. So they have their work cut out for them. But hey, the Vegas Golden Knights did it. So I've got confidence.
Thank you. I think we should leave it on that positive upbeat note. Emily, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
My pleasure. Have a good one.